They laughed so hard that morning I thought the glass walls of that boardroom might crack. A dozen men in $1,000 suits and one red-faced millionaire doubled over, wiping tears from their eyes because a skinny black kid in a second-hand uniform had said, "I speak 9 languages." That kid was me. And for a moment, standing in that throne room high above the city, I wondered if maybe Mama was right. Maybe I should have kept my mouth shut, stayed invisible, pushed the mop, and never dared to open my mouth around people like them. But then something inside me tightened like a knot that had been there for years. I wasn't going to shrink. Not this time. See, Mama had worked in that building for 6 years. Every dawn, she wheeled her cart out of the service elevator head high, even though most of those men never bothered to learn her name. She raised me alone after Dad died in an accident overseas. At least that's what they told us. I used to sit in corners doing homework while she scrubbed glass walls, listening to conversations executives assumed no one heard. Deals, gossip, even arguments in languages they thought were secret. That's how I learned. Spanish, French Mandarin, Arabic, Swahili, German, Portuguese, Russian, Japanese. 9 voices in my head that kept me company when the world tried to make me small. That morning, I'd only come to bring Mama her breakfast. But when I saw the men laughing about community outreach like it was a joke, I couldn't stop myself. "I can translate for you," I said. Silence. Then the explosion of laughter. Richard Kane, the big dog investor, slammed his hand on the table, roaring 9 languages. "This is rich. Somebody call Harvard. We've got ourselves a child professor." Phones came out. They wanted a viral clip of a janitor's daughter being humiliated. Mama gripped her cart so tight her knuckles turned white. But I looked her straight in the eyes and she saw it. I wasn't afraid. She stepped back just once, giving me space. "All right, prodigy," Richard sneered. "Say hello in Spanish." I tilted my head. Which one, Mexican, Spanish, Iberian, or Argentine? His smile twitched. The room chuckled nervously. I spoke each version back to back, crisp and fluent. A delegate from Barcelona straightened, impressed. Someone shouted French. I gave them Parisian, then Cameroonian, Mandarin. Richard barked, already sweating. I not only spoke it, I told him his tie was from a Shanghai supplier, not Beijing, because the pattern gave it away. Phones stopped recording jokes and started recording proof. The laughter thinned, replaced by whispers. Richard tried one last swing. He fired a dense question in Russian idioms and all. I answered perfectly, then added, "But you use that proverb wrong. It's about hidden strength, not obvious power." Gasps. His face drained of color. For the first time, the king of the room had no words. But power doesn't surrender easy. Within an hour, Mama was dragged into HR. Family members in restricted areas, the manager threatened. Grounds for termination. Through the glass, I saw Richard smirking like a predator with fresh prey. But Claire, one of the senior partners, slid in with legal papers. "Community welcome clause," she said. "Your rules protect her, not the other way around." The trap was set. Richard arranged an official test for the afternoon. 6 supposed foreign suppliers, each coached to trip me up. Dialects, false cognates, deliberate tricks. He wanted me humiliated in front of everyone. Mama found me in a closet flipping through a library Mandarin book. She knelt down. "They don't play fair, Habibi. They'll twist your words. If they insult, translate it exact. If they bait you, stay calm." I nodded, because I'd already overheard Richard on the phone in flawless Portuguese bragging about making the kid cry. Portuguese. The language Mama never spoke at home, but one I'd learned anyway. Something about the way he said it made my skin crawl. The trial began. Spanish came first, thick Andalusian mixed with Chilean slang. I mapped each shift like a puzzle. Then Arabic, where the man mashed Moroccan with Syrian, then Egyptian. It's like mixing Scottish grammar with Texas slang, I explained. The testers faltered. Japanese honorifics misused French laced with hidden profanity. Mandarin jumbled with archaic characters. I caught them all. The room grew silent, respectful, until one man spoke Farsi and slipped in a veiled bribe. Regulatory flexibility is profitable for all. I translated word for word, then added, "That's a corruption probe." Legal erupted. Richard shouted. It was off script, but Claire calmly raised her phone. Recorded. Richard's mask cracked, and that's when the ghosts came rushing back. That night, someone broke into his office. Security footage showed a figure in janitor coveralls. Keen, the facilities manager, pointed at Mama. Same build, same access. She was done. But when they played audio of the intruder's phone call, I tilted my head. That's Russian, but not Moscow. Odessa accent. And he slipped a Romanian phrase. That's Black Sea smuggler slang. Keen sneered. How would a 12-year-old know that Claire pulled up an old photo? My dad, Daniel Camara, an investigative journalist who'd spent years exposing trafficking in the Black Sea. The man they said died in a car crash. Mama's face went pale. It wasn't an accident, she whispered. Pieces snapped together. My languages weren't just random talents. They were Dad's legacy. And Richard, he knew more than he ever admitted. The big showdown came with the Blue Strait Project, a $10 billion shipping deal. Delegates from 6 nations contracts in half a dozen languages. Richard planted his own certified translator to twist terms. But Claire gave me a nameplate. A. Camara Linguistic Consultant. That one piece of plastic turned me from janitor's kid to professional. It didn't take long. The Japanese delegate tested Peterson, the fake translator. He choked instantly. I slid in smooth, and the delegate bowed in gratitude. The German director whispered about wildly asymmetric penalties. Peterson softened it to unbalanced. I corrected it, explaining she found it unacceptable. She looked at me like I'd rescued her. The Brazilian rep raised an issue. Peterson mistranslated non-exclusive corridor as exclusive channel, $1 billion difference. I nailed him on it, then calmly added, he read it from the paper Richard gave him. Gasps. Chairs scraped. Suddenly the room turned on Richard. Security burst in, dragging a man in fake maintenance clothes, the same voice from the recording. In his belongings, scripts of mistranslations. Signed by Richard. Cornered. Richard slipped. In perfect Portuguese, he muttered about Athens, the city where my father died. He thought no one else understood, but I did. I translated his words for the room. He admitted he knew. From there, it was chaos. Arrests, headlines, federal agents. Richard tried one last counterattack, spinning the story as child exploitation. News ran with photos of me in the boardroom, claiming Meridian used me like cheap labor. Social services knocked on our door. Mama had to prove I was an A student, not a worker. It stung saving them one day, accused the next. But when CNN offered me a live segment, I walked in. Anderson Cooper asked why I was there. I said, because Richard Kane is using your industry to lie about me. And I wanted to correct the record in the only language that matters, truth. Then I played the recording of him ordering my father's death, and I translated it in 9 languages. The country went silent. Richard still fought. He tried to smear Mama with an old photo, claimed she was involved. I held up that photo at a press conference. This man was one of Dad's sources. 2 weeks later, he was dead. That's Richard's pattern. Lies and corpses. Cameras flashed. Detectives dragged in more of his allies. His empire crumbled in real time. Months later, I sat in the same boardroom, now remodeled into a language learning center. A plaque hung on the wall. Truth Needs No Translation, in memory of Daniel Kamara. Richard is in prison for life. The executives who laughed that morning fired some indicted. Meridian funds a foundation in Dad's name that trains immigrant kids to use language as a shield, not a weapon. People ask if I regret opening my mouth that day, if I wish I'd stayed invisible. The truth, silence would have been the real regret. My father died because he spoke truth in many languages. The least I could do was keep the conversation going. And now I'll ask you, what about you? What language do you speak that the world refuses to hear? And what would happen if one day you refused to stay quiet? Drop your thoughts below because I want to hear your story in whatever language you choose.